Story 1, my mental health. I know it's a common comment on Reddit, but I need a caring, understanding, and patient partner, not just someone who pretends to be those things. Story 2, we probably met because of my public persona. Since I work in sales as an optician, I have to be very outgoing, friendly, and talkative. I warn people that in private I'm much quieter and reserved until I'm comfortable with you. It is jarring for some folks. Story 3, I can go from, I want to cuddle every time I see you, to, please don't touch me anywhere on my body, quite unexpectedly. I don't know why, but I guess that gives off a very confusing signal. Story 4, I am indecisive about literally everything. So dating me means you will spend half your life waiting for me to choose where to eat, only for me to say, I don't know, you pick in the end. Story 5, I've been single for a very long time. I have a ton of time-consuming hobbies, and my working hours are pretty flexible, so they're all over the place. Sometimes I feel like there isn't enough time in the week for me to do everything I want to do. I also hate going out. I'm actually pretty intimidated by the idea of giving up so much of my time for a relationship, but I'm also getting a little bit tired of being alone. It's a catch-22 if you pretend I'd be able to find a relationship if I tried. Story 6, my anxious attachment. I get obsessed, and if they aren't the same, I find problems and feel neglected. Basically, relationships make me crazy. I'll stick to being mean to strange men. Story 7, I get bored of people extremely quickly. After a few dates, I always catch myself thinking about what else I could do instead of being there. Since this is really rude to do, I kind of stopped dating a few years ago. I am totally content with myself most of the time. Story 8, I used to get really clingy and give my all and then some more on top. Inevitably, I got badly burnt and felt empty inside for years trying to get myself back. Now I'm scared of opening myself up. I shield every part of me and hold myself back from sharing how I feel or saying what I want to say. Woohoo. Story 9, I'm a transgender woman, and I'm also quite clingy. I fall in love way too easily. Someone just has to be nice to me and spend some time together, and suddenly I'm a slave to my own feelings. Story 10, my penis is too big. It really is. I tried to get a penis reduction and the doctor laughed. It's nonsense, honestly. Am I supposed to only date women with wider anatomy? Story 11, there are so many extremely physically attractive women that choosing one becomes impossible. Just going to the grocery store is a sensory overload. Finding a woman who is compatible when you have deprogrammed yourself from the brainwashing that is done to people from childbirth to become obedient worker drones and to believe in authority is hard. Story 12, I have major abandonment issues that I constantly need to address in therapy. I am also a big planner when it comes to my week and how I spend my time, and I don't do well with those who are spontaneous in terms of scheduling a hangout. It leaves me feeling like a last-minute option, even when I know it isn't. I have a disorganized attachment style too, so I can have both avoidant and anxious tendencies depending on the partner. Bless those who try to date me, honestly. Story 13, I have not been in a relationship yet. I am 15, so I see no problem with that, but I imagine I can be pretty arrogant sometimes and maybe behave like an idiot when I get mad. I am working on it, though. Story 14, I struggle to understand how to validate feelings. I am pretty forgetful, sometimes irritable with my serious case of attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. It's getting better now that I am medicated. I had a pretty rough childhood, so I also have fears of rejection or cheating and sometimes need too much reassurance. Story 15, post-traumatic stress disorder from an abusive childhood led me into a cycle of abusive relationships. Combined with an anxious attachment style, I am nothing short of a party. Yes, I have always been involved in counseling or therapy, and I use my faith a lot with the healing process. But 29 years of damage is not something easily overcome. Luckily, I found a man who loves me enough to make me feel worth it all, and is more gentle and kind than anyone has ever been with me. So, there's hope for all my clingy friends. Story 16. My way with the English language is a little bit tricky sometimes. Do not be confused. English is my first and only language. That, and the anxious attachment issues. Story 17. I tend to hold grudges for a long time when I feel I have been hurt in a manner that I would never do to them. But when I am hurt, I am vengeful and mean, hoping I hurt them the same amount they did to me through words. I also tend to overthink a lot and require quite a bit of reassurance. Story 18. I feel things intensely, the good and the bad. I think too well of the wrong people sometimes. When I have an idea that I think has merit, I run with it, sometimes forgetting to slow down, communicate, and verify. This tends to hit my partners over the head pretty hard. Story 19. The hardest part is constantly fighting the division of men and women on the lines of patriarchy, feminism, and politics. Two people cannot get together anymore to support and love each other. Instead, we have so many divisive issues thrown at us that put us in constant power struggles and leave us at uncomfortable odds with the other gender most of the time. Story 20. Nothing is hard dating me. I'm very simple. I have a good job. It would be nice to find someone who accepts me for who I am, but it's very tough in Alberta to find someone like that. Story 21. Probably due to my laziness, I get bored with people pretty easily. I left my online friend circle even though they are my type just because I got bored. I am an introvert, so there is no social interaction in real life. Story 22. I know that I can be quite rigid in how I like to do things, my time scheduling, what levels of cleanliness I expect, and if things aren't how I like it, I can complain or nag. I am trying my best to be mindful of this. Story 23. I don't recognize or communicate when enough is enough, so I'll spend too much time with you without getting my other stuff done. Basically, I over-prioritize you. Good for the short term, but later it's easy to put the blame in the wrong place if things run amok. Story 24. My fear of abandonment will crop up every now and then, and I will need reassurance. Also, I am super forgetful, which annoys everyone. I never forget important dates or plans or anything. I make a point of noting them down. But if you ask me to bring something somewhere or grab you something from the shop, or if I can bring your charger downstairs on my way, I am probably going to forget. Story 25. I hate watching TV shows because I have attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. I can't sit still for long unless it's horror. I can watch multiple horror movies in a row because they give me dopamine and adrenaline. Story 26. I get too attached too fast and I'm not much of a talker. Unless you ask for my opinion or I can relate to what you're telling me, it's going to be a lot of yes, yeah, right, okay, and of course. Story 27. Based on past relationships, the thing that makes me hard to date is my constant questions like a kid. I am pretty knowledgeable in a lot of areas, but my curiosity and eagerness to learn something from time to time is annoying. Do you think my answer really makes me hard to date? See, another question. Story 28. I have premenstrual dysphoric disorder, so for 3 to 4 days a month, I'm an absolute suicidal hormonal wreck. The rest of the time I'm lovely, I think, but that's a hard thing for someone else to deal with. Story 29. I'm a bit closed off to people. I have a small social battery. After maybe an hour or two, I want to be left alone for a while. That can be days or weeks. It's never consistent. I've also been told by a couple of women that I've dated that I am too laid back, and I never take charge of things. Story 30. You have to be at least bilingual. I have family and friends who only speak one of the 3 languages I know, and I hate having to translate an entire dinner conversation. I'm trying to enjoy the conversation and have to constantly go on a tangent to translate an idiom, and now the joke is gone. Story 31. I am not attracted to people unless they are not attracted to me. I do not express my feelings through words, phone calls, or text messages, which is necessary in today's world. I believe in practicing rather than preaching. I am extremely loyal, and when I am in a relationship, my focus is solely on my partner. However, I want the other person to show their affection towards me through actions and words. Story 32. I've got a lot of physical health problems and mental health issues, and while I do a good job of handling it myself thanks to medication, therapy, and my awesome doctors, sometimes I just need help being lifted out of bed to get to the bathtub. But my partner has made it clear that even if I were wheelchair-bound, they would be happy to push me around anywhere I needed to go. Story 33. Oha, ho ho ho. Well, for starters, I don't want to date. I've been solo for so long now that I feel more secure on my own than with someone else. Story 34. I may be a bit too affectionate, and I think I am overly sensitive, so I do not think I could handle jokes about me or harsh tones. For me, it just takes one negative comment to change my entire view of someone. I realize I give up fast on those who do not meet my expectations of giving back, either as a friend or a partner. I am looking for time, passions, and willingness to engage. Story 35. Where do I start? I don't fall in love easily. It will take a long time. Most people don't have that much time. I'm also avoidant and have sexual trauma. That scares people away. On top of that, I still have long COVID, and I need a lot of alone time because my energy level is quite low and I get overstimulated easily. Story 36. I am socially awkward until I know people better. I am not great with the dating application culture, where it feels like people look for instant chemistry in the very first 10 minutes of meeting you. Feels like I do not matter. I know I matter, but it is difficult sometimes. Story 37. I get so angry at the littlest things that she does that don't go with my plan. I never yell at her or anything. I just look and talk angrily, and I know I shouldn't be angry, but I just am. After the anger, I just cry and apologize. Story 38. Classic avoidantly attached. I would do well in the initial stages of dating. The best parts of my personality would be on display. But when things started to progress, I would get massively freaked out, panic, and then run away. I could identify I was problematic, but for ages, years, I couldn't join the dots and really understand what I was feeling or how to deal with it. I used to just think it was maybe immaturity, but little changed as I got older, or the usual excuse of not having met the right person. But neither was correct. Finally, with some therapy and a lot of hard work, I am seeing the results. But it's not been easy. Story 39. My standards make it hard. Mentally stable. Female, optional. Physically healthy or at least willing to exercise with me in the morning. Same religious orientation. Name must not be Kyle, Mackenzie, or Katrina. Story 40. Matching how over-the-top and proactive I am with everything. I am clingy, I like to spoil, I like to think about every little detail, I make elaborate plans, and if I'm not getting it back, not only is it draining for me, but it also makes me feel anxious. Fortunately, I have a boyfriend who is quite attentive. Story 41. I've put my dreams, needs, and wants on hold for so many people before that now I have really strong boundaries and won't stop or tolerate any childish behavior, manipulation, jealousy, or tantrums. I'm not your parent. I've been hurt too many times by people I loved more than anything, so now I take care of myself. If you're around, I'm happy. If you're not, I'm happy too. Story 42. I have some serious anxiety issues. I need a lot of time to myself, and I have a pretty low libido and sensory issues that make having a consistent sex life very difficult. Story 43. I rely on external stimulants for my happiness. I enjoy being aloof rather than actually being happy. The slightest changes in my partner's behavior can make me spiral down a hellhole. The absence of sexual experience and constant repression has led me to believe that people are better off without me. And I don't know, maybe I am right or I am proving myself right. Story 44. I am socially awkward. I do not really trust people, so it is hard for me to let them in. I need my space in relationships, and if you pass all these and I let you in, a small action could make me believe you do not care about me, and I become cold. Story 45. Prone to addiction, prone to zoning out and being neglectful. Prone to letting one thing consume me. Too high of a sex drive. At least these are the issues that have come up in my relationship. Story 46. I'm a little clingy and needy. Also, I'm bisexual. A lot of women look down on that, which means they don't want to date, so I keep some skeletons in my closet. Story 47. I'm autistic and have attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. I need a lot of time to myself. I tend to get overwhelmed by touch pretty quickly. I have a hard time keeping up a conversation about things that don't touch upon one of my interests. I have a hard time establishing contact with people in the first place. Thank God I'm already married. Story 48. Making the date happen at all. I have mastered keeping the risk of getting to know new people to an absolute minimum, paired with being a regular busy adult and preferring to spend time alone. I can see a major obstacle here, A similar thing applies to continuing dating. My expectations are low, but I don't have any real motivation to go out there and actively try unless someone has already piqued my interest. Story 49. I like going out, but I'm also perfectly happy sitting on the couch. This tends to result in not putting much thought into getting out of the house or having hobbies that aren't TV or video games, and therefore I might be a bit boring. Story 50. My last 2 serious relationships, more serious and not just playing around like truly being together. I'm so ignorant to drama and the little nonsense I hear you talking and complaining about. I listen and care, but not in the way you expect. Like, I'm not going to agree with your little drama, and I will be so nonchalant with it that you will hate me for it. And if you argue with me, I will smile at you, turn my back, and start walking away. Oh, the fire. The last 2 women I actually loved have, at certain points, taken it upon themselves to start trying to hit me. And I have taken some harsh hits and assaults from the women I loved. Why? Because they cannot win over this guy. Story 51. I am scared to date again because my husband has been cheating on me for the duration of our marriage. I don't know how I will be when I get back into dating, but I won't be as trusting as before and probably won't be able to let my guard down for a while. Story 52. Impossible. As I think I'm not one of you, I protect people from myself. I'm not violent or anything like that. The one time I dated, I heard I was very sweet, but I think I'm too flawed. Like, don't waste your time on me. This is something I grew up with, and it's hard to reset that. I gave up on becoming normal, so now I isolate myself from everyone. It's just the way my life will go. Not too much. It's better than waking up and suffering again. Too tired to keep trying at all.